Hi, I'm Carrie Blazer, mother, shaman, and recently published author of My Inner Heroine, Exploring Feminine Pain. On September 14th, 2025, just a few days ago, my intuition guided me to go public with a lot of signs and synchronicities spanning from the day I was born, where I was born, my birth date, where I've lived throughout my life, and a lot of other things. That my soul is the same soul as Mary Magdalene. Now, I didn't know until September 15th that September 14th was the exaltation of the Holy Cross in Christianity. The day they believe in the 4th century, they found the actual cross where Jesus was killed. Well, I came out swinging on September 14th, saying things like self-love creates heaven on earth and not the cross. Because that day, the exaltation of the Holy Cross celebrates that the cross is the only ladder to heaven, as if they own it, that you have to go through them. You have to connect to your soul through an institution run by men. Well, I don't agree. Personally, in this lifetime, and then in the other lifetime, as I have, only recently explored, because I only brought this to light in starting in June of 2025, when I actually Googled, did Jesus have a wife? Because I didn't know. I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies. I speak Chinese. I studied classical Chinese in graduate school. So, today I'm here to talk about, the Da Vinci Code and the signs, and that's about Mary Magdalene and what is the Holy Grail, what actually is the Holy Grail, and what does the suppression of the Mary Magdalene story and the intimate relationship between Jesus and Mary Magdalene, their children, and there's sarcophagus, there's stone engravings, and there's tons of text showing that they had children, they were married, and she's a high priestess and I'm a shaman. It's the same thing. So what is the contention here about Mary Magdalene? Okay, and so in the Da Vinci Code. So let's listen together to this part in the Da Vinci Code where Tom Hanks is talking to Ian McKellen about the Prior of Zion, which are there to guard the Holy Grail in southern France. Why southern France? Because that's where the Cathars were. The Cathars were taught by Mary Magdalene in southern France, and about 1 million of them were killed during the medieval Inquisition. And they taught self-love creates heaven on earth. A lot of the same teachings that I have. I lived in southern France, in Toulouse, in the Languedoc region, which is the exact region where the Cathars were from the time I was 1 till I was 3, because my dad got a job there. Just, another another sign of synchronicity of many. My ex-husband's Israeli. My kids are half Israeli. I speak some Hebrew. I've lived in Israel. We met in Tibet, another very spiritual place. So, okay, so let's listen to this part of the Da Vinci Code, and then, because I'm not fancy and know how to put it up for us, but let's listen together and then we'll talk about it.
The Priory is charged with a single task: to protect the greatest secret in modern history.
The source of God's power on earth.
Oh, no, that's a common misunderstanding. The Priory protects the source of the Church's power on earth. The Holy Grail.
I don't understand. What power? Some magic dishes?
Rupert, has he been telling you that the Holy Grail was a cup?
So let me get to the next part. So here's where they introduce the idea that the Holy Grail is a woman's womb and not an actual cup, holds blood. Woman is the source of creation. In my other videos, I talk about how during my first enlightenment experience, I was shown that in Christianity, they say that we're made in the image of God, but God is singular, and humanity, reality is dual in nature. You don't have man without woman. You don't have woman without man. You know what tall is, that short is. We need opposites, the opposites that attract each other. That's what makes energy fluctuate. And when energy fluctuates, that's life. That's like basics of life is opposites attract. Okay, so, why was the Mary Magdalene story suppressed? Why couldn't they come out that Jesus had a wife? Why was it that, he was celibate? Well, if Jesus had a wife and kids, they're Jewish. Non-Jewish people couldn't start a new religion. They couldn't, make him the source of all forgiveness, so they don't have to go to their wives for forgiveness, then go to the church. And then there's the funding for the church. Oh, you want salvation? It's only through the cross. Where I quote the Cherokee proverb, a woman's highest calling is to connect a man to his soul so he can unite with source, God. A man's highest calling is to protect a woman so she can walk the earth unharmed. Women do inside work, men do outside work. Well, the church is inside work, so why are we going to men in a building outside our homes for inside work? I wonder what the patriarchy is? Buddhism did the same thing. I studied that, master's degree. I understand Taoism, they engage in similar rituals where you pay to deal with emotional pain. And that's going to men for inside work. That's out of balance. That is out of balance. So let me just fast forward here for a second until we're back with, here we go. Let's listen to some more about how in southern France, the Cathars, this Prior of Zion that I'm not quite sure who they are in history, but had this wisdom that, self-love creates heaven on earth, and that the Holy Grail is Mary Magdalene's womb, because Mary Magdalene produced Jesus' children. It flies in the face of a lot of Christian doctrine. And so, okay, let's listen.
Book did not arrive by facsimile from heaven. The Bible, as we know it, was finally presided over by one man, the pagan emperor Constantine.
I thought Constantine was a Christian.
Oh, hardly. No, he was a lifelong pagan who was baptized on his deathbed. Constantine was Rome's supreme holy man. From time immemorial, his people had worshipped a balance between nature's male deities and the goddess, or sacred feminine. But a growing religious turmoil was gripping Rome. 3 centuries earlier, a young Jew named Jesus had come along, preaching love and a single God. Centuries after his crucifixion, Christ's followers had grown exponentially and had started a religious war against the pagans.
War against the Christians. We can't be sure who began the atrocities in that period.
But we can at least agree that the conflict grew to such proportions that it threatened to tear Rome in two. So Constantine may have been a lifelong pagan, but he was also a pragmatist. And in 325 Anno Domini, he decided to unify Rome under a single religion, Christianity.
Christianity was on the rise, even when his empire torn apart.
And to strengthen this new Christian tradition, Constantine held a famous ecumenical gathering known as the Council of Nicaea.
So at the Council of Nicaea, when they're uniting everyone under with one God, right? They only accepted 4 of the 21 Gospels. So there's a Gospel of Mary, Gospel of Thomas, Gospel of Philip, all talk about Jesus and Mary being married. Jesus kissing Mary. They use the word companion, but in biblical Hebrew and these other ancient languages, companion means husband or wife. And so to start a whole new religion, and then he had a whole family, and bloodline at that point is so important, which is talked about in Da Vinci Code, that Mary Magdalene brought her children to southern France, and then there's a bloodline there in southern France, and then this is where the Cathars come in southern France in history. The ones that 1 million of them were killed during the medieval Inquisition, and they followed the way of love, the church of love, that self-love creates heaven on earth. And I'm generalizing. But they talked about spiritual awakening. It's internal. It's like, early Christians talked about Christ consciousness within. The church is not necessary. And I experienced enlightenment with no church and no Buddhism. I looked internally, listened to myself, aligned with wisdom, took care of myself. And slowly but surely, I got to the point in March of 2024, I experienced enlightenment for the first time, where I saw that the glitch in the matrix, the problem, and I say glitch in the matrix, at the time I called myself Red Pill Shaman because I had helped Justin Waller and his best friend Andrew Tate, and I came into their lives right before Andrew's all of his problems started in August of 2022. So, but I was shown that when we see God as singular, we give feminine work, the creative work. I mean, women have wombs, not men, credited to the masculine. So men have more accolades and women are devalued. And then there's the imbalance, there's the patriarchy. Okay, so when we make the Holy Grail or a woman's womb the source of all creation, the source of her power and her strength and her value on earth, a cup that can be worshipped in an institution, all controlled by men, and forget the women, there goes witchcraft and shamanism and paganism and high priestess, that all the healing and the healing with herbs and crystals and energy work that we know is scientifically based and accurate in works. But then, we didn't have the proof. We were still out of balance. So we're still bringing ourselves into balance, and let me get to a little bit more here in the movie, the Council of Nicaea, what he talks about, and then we'll talk a little bit more. But there's a lot to explore here, and if you're interested, look up the Cathars. The Cathars had a prophecy that Mary Magdalene would return in 2021. Well, I didn't know that until this year. However, on December 30th, 2020, I started talking to my first hero in the book, and there's 5 men in the book that all led me back to my original hero, and his initials are JC. And we met when I was 5 and he was 7. And then we were together again in high school, and I haven't seen him in 40 years. He's former FBI, currently the head of global security at GoDaddy. So, yeah, there's just a lot to explore. But that was December 30th, 2020, and I had 35 years of debilitating lower back pain that started when I was 15, which is the last time I saw JC. And it was, I knew in the end that it was emotional pain, wounds in my womb. At the time, I didn't remember that I had been raped. I think I've been raped and then forced abortions, which is a lot of pain and suffering in my womb. That went away when I found my voice with my first hero, December 30th, 2020, right after I went back to Phoenix, Arizona, because I was born in Scottsdale, Arizona, which is right next to Phoenix. And I really connected with Charlie Kirk, who said on July 16th, 2025, Mary is the solution to toxic feminism. Now, I know he was talking about Mary, Mother of Jesus, but I don't think he was aware of or didn't accept, or I'm not sure. But on that same day, I sent an email to Rollo and Justin and Brian of whatever podcast, that, because I've been talking to them, emailing them, that the first time I actually told someone outside of my daughter all the signs and synchronicities that my soul is the same soul as Mary Magdalene. And he's in Scottsdale, Arizona, where I was born. And I went back. So in 2020, I went back to Sedona. I went to Phoenix, where I talked to my youngest uncle about the sexual abuse memories that were coming out. When I was telling him, my whole body was shaking. It was 5 minutes of my body convulsing because the energy was so hard to move out of me. And then I went to Sedona for a few days to be there for bringing the age of Aquarius over the winter solstice. And then a few days later, I started talking to my first hero, a conversation about Israel, and we spoke some Hebrew because he's Jewish and also speaks Hebrew and knows my ex-husband. And then the next year in 2021, I started hearing that I'm on the Jesus Council. And so I've heard a lot of other things. But my voice came back on December 30th, 2020. So it kind of aligns with that prophecy. Anyway.
At this council, the many sects of Christianity debated and voted on everything from the acceptance and rejection of specific gospels to the date for Easter, to the ministry of the sacraments, and of course, the immortality of Jesus.
I don't follow.
My cher, until that moment in history, Jesus was viewed by many of his followers as a mighty prophet to great and powerful man, but a man, nevertheless, immortal.
So Jesus was viewed as a man, a great man, a prophet, but a man, not God. And then in the Council of Nicaea, when Constantine established Christianity, he was changed to a god.
Not the Son of God?
Not even his nephew twice removed.
Constantine did not create Jesus' divinity. He simply sanctioned an already widely held idea.
Semantics.
No, it's not semantics. You're interpreting facts to support your own conclusions.
Facts for many Christians. Jesus was mortal one day and divine the next.
For some Christians, his divinity was enhanced.
Absurd. There was even a formal announcement of his promotion.
They couldn't even agree on the Nicene Creed.
Excuse me.
Lots of arguing. Yeah.
Who is God? Who is man? How many have been murdered over this question?
As long as there's been one true God, there has been killing in his name.
So let me find the moment they start getting into Mary Magdalene. I think it's when they're looking at the Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. So let me find that real quick.
Where is Jesus sitting?
In the middle.
Good. He and his disciples are breaking bread. And what drink?
Wine? He drank wine?
Did one final question. How many wine glasses are there on the table?
One? The Holy Grail?
Open your eyes.
There are no wine glasses on the table, but they're drinking wine in the Holy Grail. So what is Leonardo da Vinci actually saying? Let's see.
No single cup. No chalice. Well, that's a bit strange, isn't it? Considering both the Bible and standard Grail legends celebrate this moment as the definitive arrival of the Holy Grail.
Yeah. So why would Leonardo da Vinci's depiction of the Holy Grail not include a chalice, a physical cup on the table? I mean, it's widely accepted as, Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper. Women have been suppressed. The patriarchy is real. Women have been asking for equality. This is what they're talking about.
Now, Robert, you could be of help to us. If you'd be so kind as to show us the symbols for man and woman, please.
Oh, no balloon animals. Huh. They can make a great duck. This is the original icon for male. It's a rudimentary phallus.
Quite to the point.
Yes, indeed.
This is known as the blade. It represents aggression and manhood. It's a symbol still
Triangle.
used today in modern military uniforms.
Star of
The more
David.
penises you have, the higher your
The
rank.
uterus,
Now, as you
penis.
imagine, the female symbol is its exact
So the
opposite.
exact opposite.
This
Men
is
and women
called
are
a chalice.
opposites.
And the chalice,
Chalice.
resembles a cup, or vessel,
Chalice.
or more important,
Holy Grail.
shape of a woman's womb. No, the Grail has never been a cup. It is quite literally this ancient symbol of womanhood.
Of creation. They took creation and gave it to God, a masculine God. And then women were controlled and repressed. Sexuality was controlled and repressed. Women's, emotions that came out, these, hysteria would take away a woman's womb if she was hysterical. She's just crazy. They don't understand that the emotions are why we're here, to learn how to regulate our emotions, to become more emotionally mature is the whole reason. And that men still don't know how to lead women. And women are still figuring out how to follow men. We're still figuring it out.
And in this case, a woman who carried a secret so powerful that if revealed, it would devastate the very foundations of Christianity.
Mary
Wait,
Magdalene.
please. You're saying the Holy Grail is a person? A woman?
And it turns out she makes an appearance. Right there.
She's
There were
in
men.
the Last
Oh,
Supper
there.
painting.
What about that figure on the right hand of our Lord, seated in the place of honor.
It's a woman.
Flowing red hair.
And between her and Jesus is a chalice, or a uterus, or a grail.
Into the bosom. No?
It's a woman. Look at it. Look it up. Watch the movie.
It's
the rise.
The mind's...
You know, this is the rise of the divine feminine. People say the future is feminine. The truth comes out of us in many different ways. So one way I can interpret the future as feminine, the future has balance between men and women, where the future is women are celebrated by staying at home and raising healthy, well-educated, well-mannered, high character children who show respect to themselves and to their elders in the community. That children can play outside again. When we oppress femininity, when we treat women like men, and there's no femininity, there's no balance. Like, okay, anyone who knows Boy Scouts, you send your Boy Scout out with a dad to a camporee, a weekend event, and there's no women around, that's when the fingers get blown off. And we all friggin' know it, okay? We all friggin' know it. My son's an Eagle Scout. My son, that's his artwork. There's like one piece, so it's highly prized. Okay, we all know it. We need each other to bring each other balance. So thinking that the womb of creation of like, say that we want to bring children into the world when we're safe. Well, we're not safe right now. I live in Ventura, California. In California, if I had a teenager right now and my teenager thought that he or she were trans and I didn't agree, they could take my child away from me and cut off their genitals. If that's not Armageddon, I don't know what the fuck is. Like, seriously. Why would I want to bring children into the world when that's the law? Why would I want to bring children in the world when illegal immigrants are coming over the border with MS-13 gangs, and there's all kinds of fentanyl and killing and rape, and the kids aren't even learning in school. Less than half of the kids can read and write at grade level. I mean, that's just horrendous. Horrendous. So I encourage you, watch the Da Vinci Code. Open up your mind. Next week is Rosh Hashanah. And my ex-husband's in Israel right now. And they're blowing the horns live globally for the first time ever. And there's a lot of signs and synchronicities that unity is coming to Israel. And I know most of the world is behind not giving them unity. But I don't see it that way. So I don't think that's what's coming for us. We'll see what happens. I'm not, saying what is or is going to happen because I truly don't know. But I see a unified Israel because we need Israel. Israel has held on to wisdom and truths about mankind, humans, wisdom, knowledge, in a way that has not been respected and celebrated at a level that is commensurate with what they've accomplished and done. And they just unveiled tunnels there to show that Jews were there before any Arabs. And there's been proof for a long time, but other Arab countries didn't want to, make that public. So Israel fought and fought and fought. And they're the chosen ones for a reason. There's a reason that Jesus and Mary Magdalene were Jewish. There's a reason that I met my ex-husband in Tibet, and he's Israeli. There's a reason I live in America. There's a reason the Pope's American. There's a reason the boundaries are being drawn now, that we have a healthier society now already. Once you start drawing healthy boundaries, like we have to take care of these people, these are our people, and you guys got to take care of your people. Okay, now what? These are our people, let's make this healthier and safer. And then when we figure out some problems, then down the road, maybe we can help other people. But we have so many problems of our own, we got no business saying that we can help other people. It's like asking an obese person how to stay in shape. That's just absolutely stupid. Come on now, let's act like reasonable, logical, common sense adults and solve our own problems before we think we can solve anybody else's. Anyway, I'll keep posting videos. It's a lot for me to come out, but all of you can look in the description for some things I've written up about me, and my website's coming out soon. And Love yourselves. Be grateful for your challenges in life, because that's how you become higher vibrating. That's how you learn how to process emotional pain and come out with a higher vibrating soul with more wisdom on the other end. The wisdom is inside the pain. So when you learn how to transform your emotional wounds into personal wisdom through self-reflection, through opening your heart with gratitude and humility, then self-reflect and ask your soul, what are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to show me in this moment? And then forgive everyone involved, especially yourself, and create a healthier human being inside yourself. Then you're going to be in alignment with the wisdom that changes an inside job. If you want to change the world, you have to change yourself. And, read Dr. Joe Dispenza about how, the more high vibrating each of our hearts are, how impactful that is to all the people around us. And it's scientifically proven. So, meditate, walk barefoot in nature, be grateful for your hardships in life, and stop spending time on victim mentality. Your soul planned your life this way for a reason, to give you this wisdom for a reason, for you to use it for yourself and the collective, so we can all improve together. Okay? All right, thank you. Well, please subscribe and like the video, and I'll be back later with more.